I want to thank everybody for attending the webinar this morning. This morning's webinar is customer service. And this customer service webinar, we're mainly focusing on troubleshooting or just answering the questions that you can find on the FAQ page on our website. So we just kind of want to take you through a few things. First things first is we want to go ahead and talk about your customer service contacts. All of you should know who your regional sales manager is, and the two people I know we have on today is Amy Snyder is going to be the contact for Rampart, and then Lee is going to be the contact for More Supply Beaumont, if you guys didn't already know. I will email all of you these slides, so you'll have all the contact information when we're done here. And I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Christy.
Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk about today is a little bit of warranty information, and then we'll go into troubleshooting. Most of what we do here in the warranty department is more troubleshooting than we have actual warranty. The tubs do go through quite a bit of inspection process before they go out, so we try to eliminate as many warranty problems for you as we can. But occasionally we do hit things, so we want to make sure that you're prepared to be able to deal with those. So on the main page for all of the products on our website, down in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a warranty button that will give you the actual warranty for each product. Some of them do vary by product lines. We have made some updates to those recently. So the only one that you'll see that really has any significant difference is going to be the walk-in tub. Otherwise, everything has moved to having a 10-year warranty on the shelf. And then your parts, like your pumps and your motors, are going to be 5 years on those. And there is a 1-year labor warranty. So if they need to have one of those parts replaced, we'll provide the part for them. But after 1 year, they would be responsible for the labor to get it replaced. But you can see what the actual warranty is and get that actual warranty document from that warranty button on the product landing page. The next thing that we have on warranty is on the bottom of all of our main pages. There is a warranty claim form and a warranty activation form. So two different things. One thing just to get your customers set up so that we have them in our system in case they have a warranty claim in the future. And the other is if they do actually have a claim so that we can go ahead and process that for them. So the next slide we'll see is the warranty activation slide. When your customer receives their owner's manual with their tub, there's going to be a sticker on the back of that, and it's going to have some order information, but the most important piece of information it has on it is the lot number, which is circled here on the slide. So if they hit that warranty activation button, it's going to prompt them to put in some of their personal information along with that lot number, which allows us to have all the information on their tub should they ever have trouble in the future. So that's just one way that they can register their warranty and make it easier if they have a problem down the road. Our next slide is going to be the warranty claim form. And this is more for you guys, and it's a downloadable form. It just gives you boxes to fill in all the information that we're going to ask for if we need to process a warranty claim for you. We do ask that if you have a cosmetic warranty claim, that you do include pictures with your submission. We always want to evaluate those to see if they actually can be repaired. We don't want to waste your customers' time waiting for a technician to get out there only to find out that it's something that cannot be repaired. So we'd like to look at it from photos to begin with, just so we can make that determination and get things processed for you as quick as we possibly can. So the next thing that we'll go into is the main topic for today, which is our troubleshooting. And we'll start out with just some general things. Or actually, let me back up. Does anybody have any questions on the warranty segment?
If you have any questions, you can type them into the chat box now. No questions, and we can move forward.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with some of the information that is on our frequently asked questions area. That is going to be located in the top blue ribbon of the website, and it just simply says FAQ. So one of the most frequently asked questions is, how do we clean the acrylic surface of the bathtub? We want to make sure that we advise people to use mild cleaners, nothing abrasive. So the best thing is a soft cloth and a liquid detergent, like dish soap or something like that, that's very mild, that will go ahead and clean that acrylic for you, but will not damage it. If they have something that's stubborn or particularly stuck on there, a magic eraser used lightly will not damage the tub, but will usually get any little marks or little issues off. If they have an older tub that has lost some of its luster, you can use a high quality automotive wax recommended for plastic surfaces. They want to be very careful not to wax the floor, because that will become a slipping hazard. Wax on any kind of acrylic is going to be very slippery, so we want to make sure that they don't do that anywhere near the floor. But they can do the side walls and the top of the tub, and that will bring it back to its normal, slick, shiny surface. If you need repairs of any kind, like if there was a chip or a crack or something like that, we do always recommend that those be done by a qualified acrylic expert. Do you have a question on that one? Did I hear a beep? Or no?
No questions that I can see.
Okay. Another question we get is if people can use Epsom salts, bath salts, bubble bath, or body oils. And we do not recommend using salts in the whirlpool or the air feature. Those salt crystals can get down into the components of the system and cause problems. Also, some of the bath salts are very pigmented and can cause stains to the acrylic. So we just steer people away from those altogether. With our air and whirlpool systems, there are plenty of bubbles without anything added to it. So I think they'll see plenty of action in the water. If they do really want some bubble bath, there are water-soluble ones that we recommend using on a soaker only. We don't want to use those with the jet system, because you just don't want to get any buildup back in those pipes that could cause bacteria to be able to grow or anything like that. So we just steer away from using those bubble baths, even the water-soluble ones, in the jetted systems, but they are completely safe for your soaking. Another common question we get is, why do I need to use mortar to support underneath the floor of the tub? So we have people that'll call in and ask if they can use drywall mud. Some people want to use foam. All of those surfaces do not harden the way that mortar hardens. So mortar chemically cures, and it forms a very, very hard compound, and it'll adhere to many different types of surfaces. So this is going to provide the support that you need to ensure that the bathtub performs the way it's intended. We want to have a good solid base under there, because we don't want any weight resting on the rim of that tub. That can cause damage to the tub over time. So really, once that tub is installed, no weight should be supported by the rim. It should all be supported by the floor of the tub sitting on that mortar. We also get questions. A lot of folks want to drill through the tub for their deck-mounted faucets. So we get some questions about what type of blade they should use to go ahead and cut those holes. So we recommend using a diamond-tipped hole saw. We want to make sure that when we're doing that the saw is held perfectly level with the tub, and that pressure is applied evenly as you're drilling through the acrylic. That'll give you a nice clean cut on the back side. But we do recommend using that diamond-tip hole saw just so we minimize any chipping. And we don't want to use a saw with teeth, because that will definitely chip up the acrylic. And if your faucet plate doesn't cover it, then you're going to wind up with an issue. So to stay away from that, we just recommend that diamond tip hole saw. Occasionally, we also have customers who need to cut down their skirts. So when we talk about this, we're talking about the 5-foot and 6-foot skirts that come with the tub separately and can be used to provide a front edge for the tub. but they don't always, the opening isn't always exactly 5 foot or exactly 6 foot, so they do have to be cut down sometime. We recommend using a diamond or finishing blade to cut those with at least 36 carbide teeth so that you get a good clean cut on the edge of those. All right, so the next thing that we'll go into is going to be some of the components. So we'll start with the air bath components, and we'll go ahead and switch over to the camera so that you guys can see all of the pieces and parts. And if you're having trouble seeing anything, just let us know and we will adjust. Let me know when we're ready.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay, so these are the main components that I have right here for the air baths. So basically it's got a keypad, it's got the blower itself, which has a couple of cables attached to the back of it, and then it's also got the light, which is either going to be a mood light, which is the clear light, or if they've upgraded, is going to be the LED light. So I'm all plugged in here. Actually, I'm going to unplug this for a second so you can see what happens when they first get installed. Okay, so when I first plugged in the keypad, there's a lot of flashing that started. It's going to go through a sequence, which is initializing itself. Once it's all done and ready to go, there are going to be no lights at all, which is where we have landed now. Sorry, I had that upside down at first. That's where we've landed now. So the keypad is very easy to operate. So if they want to turn on the light, they're just going to hit this button that has the light bulb. That's got our light on here. I do have the fancy LED bulb in there, so that would be an upgrade, but that is something that a lot of people go with. There are some different modes to the LED lights. So if you turn it on and off, and I don't know if you can see the light down there. There we go. As you go through the rotation of just pushing that light, that'll get you to some different effects with that LED bulb as far as the number of lights you put on. There are also several different modes to the blower. So when we have somebody who calls in and says that their air tub won't come on, there's a few things that we check first. So we'll go through those and then we'll go through the modes of the blower. So the first thing that we want to check is if they have a red light that was down here on the end, it was flashing when we did our initialization, that means it's not getting communication from the blower to the keypad. And that usually means that one of these plugs back here is not plugged in. A question we get really often is this little jumper right here. That does have to stay in there or the blower will not work correctly. So just make sure that nobody removes that thinking, oh, that shouldn't be there because it's clipped off. Then you've got a gray cord. This one goes to the light itself. And you'll notice that this one is plugged in with a flat spot on the bottom. This black cord is to the cable, and you'll see that it's plugged in with a flat spot on the top. And those are in a specific way because it has the pins that are inside of those plugs lining up with the pins or the holes inside the blower. And if people try to plug those in incorrectly, they can bend those plugs and cause them to no longer make good connection, which will cause you to get that error light on your keypad. So that's one of the first things we check. If you have no light at all on your keypad, that indicates to us that it's not getting power. So at that point, we're going to check that GFCI plug that's underneath the tub. And the way that we do that is we generally ask that the homeowner or whoever's there use another appliance that they know works and plug it into that. So maybe it's a light or a hairdryer, but we have them go ahead and plug that in to see if it works on that plug, just so we can make sure that that plug is actually hot. And that is going to be the plug that's under the bathtub, not just another plug in the bathroom because they are on separate circuits. So in the testing, we actually have to test that plug that's underneath. If we still have a question, sometimes we'll have them run an extension cord from another outlet somewhere else in the room to the tub itself. and see if it will run that way. So that kind of helps us rule out any electrical issues. Once we've ruled all those out, we just want to make sure that all of the connections are secure. So there's a connection on the back of that keypad, same type of connection. Just goes into the back of the keypad. It does have a little retaining clip to hold it on. They just want to make sure when they're installing the tub that they don't have any 2x4s or anything that are pressing onto this connection, because that also can bend those pins and make it so that you get an error from doing that because it doesn't feel like it's receiving a good connection. So once you're all hooked up, everything's working fine. You don't have any lights flashing. You don't have that red error code. Then we have a few different things that the keypad will do for us. So when you turn it on, it's always going to turn on in continuous mode. That's going to be on the highest speed. So we may have customers who want to turn that down. So I apologize, it's going to get loud for a second, but I am going to turn it on. So when you turn it on, we're just going to hit that button. So what I did there was that I just press and hold the plus or minus buttons, and that's what's going to control the speed. If you just continually press the button over and over again, that is not going to actually reduce the speed of the blower. It's a press and hold function, so if they're trying to reduce the speed or increase the speed, they're going to want to press and hold to make that happen. There are also several different modes within the pump or within the blower. So you've got that continuous mode that I just turned on. There's also a pulse mode, and then there's a wave mode. So I'll demonstrate both of those really quickly. You get to those by pressing this button twice fast to get to the pulse mode, or 3 times fast to get to wave mode. So now we'll go into pulse mode. Okay, so that was pulse mode, and you can see how it goes from high to low and then from high to low. Sometimes that can be confusing to the end user if they don't understand that that actual mode is there, and they think that something's wrong with the blower because the sound of it is changing and it's doing something different. But that is actually quite normal. It's just a feature of the blower. So now we'll put it into wave mode. Okay, hopefully you can hear the difference on that one just a little bit. That one is a more gradual difference, kind of goes up and down like a wave. Now it is not going to create a wave type of action in the water in the tub. It simply is just an up and down speed to the water that is coming out of the air injectors. So the next thing on the blowers is, since I've turned it off, I don't know if you guys can see it, but there is a little green light that's flashing right here. The second light over is flashing, and that is indicating that a timer has been set, because 20 minutes from now this blower is going to come on again by itself, and that is to purge all of the additional water out of those air lines and keep the system clean. So if the customer doesn't know that that's coming, sometimes that can be startling for them because they've left the bathtub and now it's come back on. If they go to try to turn it off, basically they're just going to reset that timer and it's going to happen again in 20 minutes. So really they just need to let it run, and it'll blow all the air out of those lines, and then they'll be good to go, and it'll shut off and it won't come back on until they decide to use the tub again. I do recommend, if they're going to use the tub for soaking only and not run the air system, that they do quickly turn on the air system so that it activates that timer. and blows those lines out anyway, because just having water in the tub can cause some water to get into those lines, and we want to make sure it stays clean for them. I think that's everything that we have on the air blower. I can show you how to change this is what is behind the light that is in the wall of the tub. And there is a little tool that comes with each tub that allows you to get, it's just a flat round circle, and it allows you to get a hold of the edges of these. This is kind of easy for me to undo because it's not snugged up against the side of a tub. But if it were, it can be a little bit more difficult. So we do have a tool to help them do that goes out with each tub. And that lens cover just comes off, and the light bulb's inside. Like I said, right now I have the LED light on there. It just pops out, and they can pop a new bulb in there. The LEDs last a really, really long time. And it just depends on how much you use them. But that's the kind of connection that's in there. And it just pops right back in there. And then the cap goes right back on. And just make sure that they get that cap sealed on there tight so that no water gets around the edges of it. It does have a silicone gasket on it that should keep any water from getting down in there. So does anybody have any questions on operation of the air tubs or how the blowers work before we move on to whirlpools?
If you want to just type your questions into the chat box, we'll give it a minute.
Okay, next we will move on to the whirlpools.
More Supply Beaumont asks, where's the air intake on the motor?
Pull that back up. It really doesn't have a separate air intake because it's producing its own air. There are two little vents underneath. I don't know if you can see those underneath here. That it can pull air in from, but basically it works like a hairdryer. For the most part, it does have a heater in the motor. So the air that's coming out of here, which is what goes into the tub, is heat that feels like it's coming off of a hairdryer. So it's taking the ambient room temperature air and it's heating it up and then pushing it through those air injectors. Is that what you were wondering? Does that answer your question?
They said yes.
Yeah, okay. And it does, we do sometimes get comments, if people use really, really hot water in their bathtub, sometimes it will feel to them like there's cool air coming through those jets. But what it is that the air that's coming through the jets just is not as hot as the water that they've put into their tub. So if they've put water that's 120 degrees in their tub, and we've got air coming out of the jet that's 98 degrees, it's going to feel like there's cool air coming in, even though it is heated, versus somebody who puts a lower temperature, say they have their water in there at 102, it's going to feel relatively the same. So it really just is dependent on how hot they like their baths as far as how much of a difference they're going to feel with that. All right, so whirlpool baths. We get a lot of calls from people saying that their jet motor won't turn on. So this is the actual pump that runs the jets. Turn it sideways for you guys. So this end is what attaches to the plumbing. The plumbing also attaches at the top here. The reason that I have it turned around the other way is because this is where the fan is and where the connection is to this red tube. So there are three elements when we're dealing with the Whirlpool tubs. Basically, a push of this button sends a puff of air down this red tube, hits this relay, and clicks it over and the pump starts. So actually, I'm going to unplug it again. So right now, hopefully you'll be able to hear it, but if I click this button, you'll hear a relay flip over in here. So that's turning the pump on and off. Okay, now I've got it plugged in. So if I push this button now, because it has power, it's actually going to come on. So we've got the three. This will operate this even if it doesn't have power. It just won't cause it to turn on. So one of the first things that we check, if we have somebody who is having trouble with a pump motor coming on, is we do check to first have them just make sure that it's plugged in, because occasionally the tubs do get installed and that's a last minute thing and somebody forgets to plug it in. So sometimes that's the problem. Sometimes it's also that same thing with the GFI. So we ask them to check that GFI, make sure that it's hot, use another appliance, all of the things we talked about before, possibly run it with an extension cord to another plug just to make sure that it has the proper amperage and is able to start. If that still does not start, or if they don't hear that clicking noise, we know that the problem is in between this red tube and this button. So on this little button, there's a tiny little port here that is what the red tube is attached to. And sometimes during installation, this little port gets broken or cracked. So if it's working intermittently, it's probably cracked. If it's not working at all, then it's probably broken. I'm sure you guys can see that. So this one, the red tube is all connected here, and it's connected to the box here. The other thing that can happen is sometimes when they're putting the tubs in the deck, this line will get pinched in between a 2x4 and the tub, which also will not let the puff of air flow down to be able to trigger the pump. If somebody has a broken button body, they're very easy to change. It's just a locking nut on the bottom, which screws off. They drop this down in, hook the red tube to, actually you hook the red tube to it, slide the washer on there so you can get that on, and just drop it down the hole. That's the easiest way to do it. Make sure this gets tightened up so that it's tied up against the top of the bathtub, and then you're just going to fish that red line down and plug it into the back of the pump. We also sometimes get issues where people say that their button, that it won't push down to go ahead and start. So sometimes what happens is when they're grouting the tubs, some little pieces of grout or debris will get down in between here, and then, or it'll get pushed down sideways and get stuck because there's a little crumb of grout or something that won't come back up. These are very easy to clean. You just pop the little rim off. You can do that with a plastic butter knife, or even I just did it with my fingernail. And then the little center just pulls out, and you can see down in there, there's just a little diaphragm. But if they just take a washcloth, clean that out, clean the sides of this, pop it back in, and pop that back on, that generally solves their problem. Let's see what else we have on Whirlpools. So on the Whirlpool tubs, there are, I'm going to scoot this over just a little bit. Does anybody else have questions on the pump itself? No? Okay. We'll move on to the jets that are on the Whirlpools. This particular jet is what we call a rotational jet, and you'll see how that center spins around. So what it does is it sends water out in a pattern that goes like this, instead of just a straight pattern. So the closer that it is to the outside edge, the more of the pattern you get because it's swinging further to the outside. If you have a customer that wants it less of that pattern, they can just move that to the center, and then it's going to spin less, and it's going to be more of a straight stream that comes out that'll just be spinning a little bit. And these come standard on the Designer and Elite tubs on the back of them. Everything else comes with just the rotational jets, which these are going to stay in a fixed direction. They're not going to spin. They're just going to move to wherever you would like to have them for your own personal preference. Now, all of these jets are flow adjustable. So if they're turned all the way to the left, they are closed off. If they are turned all the way to the right, they are all the way open. So if you have somebody who's saying that one of my jets doesn't have as much water coming out of it than the others, it may be that they just don't realize that these are adjustable. That's something we commonly go over with people when they call in, is just to make sure that those are fully in the open position, and then they can adjust them down from there to suit their comfort level. They also are removable. So if you just twist it all the way to the left and then pull it straight out, they can clean inside if they get anything in that jet housing that they want to clean out. And this portion of it can go in the dishwasher for cleaning. So that's just an extra little sanitation thing that they can do. They are difficult when it's up against the sidewall of the tub. They are more difficult to get out, so they do have to put a good amount of pressure on them to get them to release. But they're generally not going to break them. But you do have to force it past where it feels like it should go. This one actually clicks harder, so you might be able to hear that click better. You can hear that one click harder. And then it just comes out. And then to put it back in, they're going to do the same exact thing, but rotate it to the right until it clicks. So that's just a nice little convenience feature of those whirlpool jets. If they have an inline heater on their unit, they do need to make sure that all of the jets are in the open position, which is going to be, again, rotated all the way to the right. The inline heater is on a water sensor, and it only activates when there is full flow through all of the jets. So if they're wondering, if they are calling and wondering if their inline heater isn't working or if there's a problem with it, the first thing that we do to troubleshoot it is just to make sure all those jets are open, because sometimes they'll have a few of them closed because they want some additional pressure in certain areas or less pressure in others, and they don't have enough flow going through there to actually get that inline heater to work.
More Supply in Beaumont asks, do we have to be concerned about damage to the O-ring in the dishwasher?
We have not had any reports of damage to the O-rings in there. We do recommend top rack when they are washing them. So we do also have on the website, in order to keep the lines clean behind these jets, we have a recipe for cleaning the bathtubs. So that is to fill the bathtub with hot water to 2 inches above the level of the jets, to add 2 tablespoons of low foaming automatic dish soap, so something like Cascade. You just don't want, you want the actual kind you put in the dishwasher and not the kind that you put in the sink, because you don't want bubbles to go everywhere. And a half a cup of household bleach. You're going to run the Whirlpool system for a minimum of 15 minutes and then drain the bathtub, refill it with cold water, and then run the Whirlpool system for an additional 10 minutes and drain the bath, just to be able to keep everything fresh and clean back there and make sure that you don't have any issues. And we do recommend that you do that once a month. And that is everything that I have for troubleshooting on my list. Do you guys have any questions or anything you've hit? Any questions that you've hit in the field or gotten from customers that you'd like to get addressed?
I'll go back to the slides.
Okay, so again, all of this information is located in the frequently asked questions section of the website, and we are always here to help. Your CSRs are always available to help. I'm available to help if you ever have any questions. Of course, if you have somebody who's having trouble out there, we're always willing to help, send a technician if we need to, try to get them sorted out. But we just want to arm you guys with all the information that we can so that you know about the operations of the tub and that you can answer any questions on the spot if you get put on the spot to answer something. Something else that we always do is we offer to send you guys these button bodies because they are the most common casualty of a tub installation. So if you'd like us to send you some of those just to keep on hand, if you have a contractor that just needs to fix something quickly because they have a closing coming, and they just want to pop that off, they have good access, they just want to be able to pop that off and pop a new one on and get it going again, that's certainly something that we can provide you with some stock on so that you have it at your location.
And if you have any questions who your CSR is, just feel free to email me, which is bbryson@jettacorp.com, and I'll send you all the contact information that you guys need. I'll also be emailing out a video and the PDF of the slide presentation here, so you'll have all of the questions and the answers, and as well as the video if you want to show anybody else in your showroom or your location. And again, if you guys have any questions, just type them in now. If not, it was good to have everybody here. Thank you for attending today. And hopefully you guys will go to our next one.